Little did I know I'd be stepping into a nightmare. Full of mystery, mayhem, and murder.
You talk me through the evolution of Wednesday going from a loner to somebody who's literally willing to get stabbed to protect the school.
You know, the goal for the show, or the way that the show was presented to me, I love playing real people. And it was described to me that they wanted to humanize Wednesday a little bit, because she's always been the one-liner character, the funny bit, and I think that there's so much to her and so much that people relate to about her that it's really interesting exploring that, especially her as a teenager when she's become a bit more experienced in the world and knows a little bit more. But I think for me, something that I was trying to get across, because I don't think that she necessarily cared about saving. I feel like saving the school was kind of a pride thing for her. I think because she was so invested and interested in the monster, and it was the only thing that was intriguing to her about this boring, dull school that she had no interest in, I think that she kind of became obsessed with something and made it her priority, and it began to mean a lot more to her than she anticipated, because she's never been outsmarted before. There's never been anybody a step ahead of her before. For some reason, she couldn't get to the bottom of this as quickly as she would have liked to. There was all of these obstacles in the way. I think it was a nice challenge for her and an interesting way to kind of flex her investigative muscle, which clearly is a priority to her and something that she finds very fascinating. So saving the school, I think, was her kind of getting back at this monster that was putting up a really good fight. So I think for her it's it's almost the prideful thing of it all, and also, you know, she did form some really important relationships like Enid and Eugene and Weems, and those people mean a lot to her, and she knows that the school meant a lot to them. So I think it's kind of her, yeah, I did this, but let's never talk about it again.
Who do we think that text was from at the end?
Honestly, I have no idea. I've gotten that question a couple times now, and I'm so confused. I always assumed that it was either Miss Thornhill or Tyler, and I don't know. Maybe there's another member of the Gates family that's still alive, or maybe it has no correlation whatsoever. I'm not sure, but I didn't even question it on the set. I just did it. So I'm curious to know.
So starting with your character, she is somebody who really values the school above all else. How do you feel that she will be feeling being betrayed by a normie?
I think that Larissa Weems grew up at the Nevermore Academy. I think that she is very firmly cemented in her outsider status. And I think due to that, she has a healthy disregard and suspicion for normies and those in the normie world. I think that she's also intelligent enough to realize that she wants to develop a harmonious relationship between the outcasts at Nevermore and the normies, because she understands that she wants the community to be integrated and harmonious. But I think she fundamentally knows that if she allows the normies in, it will lead to the end of the school.
But she's allowed someone in, a normie in that she trusted, and now she's been betrayed. You think in those last kind of moments.
Yeah, but I think that Larissa is doing her best to be embracing of the world as a whole. And I think that she's taken that chance, and it's unfortunate that it has ended up leading to her demise. But I feel like she thinks it's better to take the chance than not to take the chance. I think she feels that to take a stab at an idealistic world is better than to exist in isolation.
But see, people have come back from the dead. So is it possible that maybe Weems isn't dead or could come back in a possible season 2?
We haven't seen her put in the ground, have we?
Very, very true.
So you never know. And I feel like Larissa Weems would not really be prepared to entertain or be dominated by anything as commonplace as death.
Yeah, she is a tenacious one, isn't she? So Tyler turns out to be the Hyde in the end. Was he really manipulating Wednesday the whole time, or was he 100% being manipulated himself? And do we think he escaped at the end?
I do think he escaped at the end. I mean, come on. When I read that on the page, I was so excited. I was like, come on, don't be dead, don't be dead. But I think it was both. I think he was being controlled by Miss Thornhill, and then he had to go manipulate Wednesday to carry out their plan. And I think he did a pretty good job at it. He got her.
Got her good.
Yeah, smarted her. Xavier's always had a thing for Wednesday. With Tyler out of the picture, is there any chance for any romance between them?
I mean, I think Xavier would hope so, but knowing Wednesday, I very much doubt it. I don't know if she's the dating type, especially after her first foray into that.
Emma, Enid finally gets her werewolf transformation. How much of that was connected to her relationship with Wednesday versus her relationship with herself?
I think a lot of it did have to do with Wednesday because Wednesday does teach her some very important lessons throughout. I think they both teach each other things. Like Enid teaches Wednesday that she can be emotional and still be a badass. And Wednesday teaches Enid that she can stand up for herself and be patient with herself. So I think a lot of it does have, you can credit Wednesday with a lot of it.
Louise, your Catherine Zeta-Jones is the Morticia to your Gomez. What was it like developing that sickly, sweet, affectionate relationship?
Well, my relationship is all based on love and passion. It's that simple to me. And, being a dad and being a husband.
Was there anything you took from the original that helped kind of create that relationship between you two?
Well, you know what it is because, again, that show was so iconic and growing up on it and seeing it, and it's, it wasn't like trying to figure out some crazy equation. It was already there. And so you kind of just stepping into it and you're just kind of enhancing it and just being that guy.
What was it like to work with Catherine Zeta-Jones in that respect?
It was great. I thought we had a really good bond with each other. She's beautiful, that goes without saying, and I was just honored to be her Gomez, just as she was honored to be my Morticia.
What was it like to work with the former Wednesday, the iconic Christina Ricci?
It was...
Wednesdays are so different.
Yeah, it was intimidating at first. They are very different, which is interesting because I feel like a lot of the humor, a lot of the lines are similar, or pull inspiration from the 90s films, but she's a really wonderful, gifted actress. It obviously is weird when I've grown up my entire life viewing her as Wednesday. So it's a bit disorienting, and I think it took me a couple days to kind of loosen up and warm up around her. But yeah, they're very different people, and I hope that there's not too much comparison going on, just because it's not necessary. I think that this show is kind of like a fun get lost in show, and it's a completely different world. There's superheroes, and now she's an investigator, and she's older, and yeah, they're two completely different people.
What was it like getting to develop a character that isn't already established within the Addams Family universe?
It was a real exciting honor. It really was, because I grew up loving the Addams Family. I really did. It always had a really special place in my heart. I loved the black and white TV show. I remember seeing that when I was little and I just adored it. And then I loved the films so much. They were the most exciting, exhilarating, dynamic, colorful, and entirely different films that I'd seen at that time. I really just adored them. And so, there was a bit of trepidation there because it's important to me that the character worked within the world, but at the same time, it had to be something different. She's the principal of the school. She had to be an individual in her own right. She had to really work with a headmistress and what that is, and being able to have that mask of bureaucracy, but simultaneously retaining the fact that she is an outcast. And what was exciting to me was the idea of a woman who is entirely self-created, and who that woman might be, particularly within the world of Tim Burton. So it made sense to me to look at a sort of Hitchcock-style woman, of a kind of screen siren, but to subvert that, rather than that be a woman who is having trauma exacted upon her, she is someone that is in charge of her own destiny, and she is forging ahead with a very strong sense of ambition and determination. So that felt exciting to me. It's also the type of part that I would never be cast as. And as an actor, I love to transform, and I love to play totally different kinds of roles. So it was just a real thrill. And getting to work with Colleen Atwood, who is an absolute legend, and to be frank, one of our greatest costume designers who's ever lived, was an unbelievable honor for me. And she was so collaborative and so kind and really celebrated me and who I am and my body and made me feel so great about myself, and totally understood how to help me transform into this character. And it was real bliss.
And Joy, we touched on the morning song, but how dangerous are they, and how dangerous could they be with Bianca by their side?
I think the effect could be very, very wide and vast. I mean, as we see, her mom makes it all the way up and is already starting to spread the poison through the town that Bianca's in very easily. And so even though her mom's siren song is draining out, if Bianca was part of that, it would be even bigger. So I think they have a lot to be afraid of when it comes to morning song.
Do you guys have any season 2 predictions?
Ooh.
I feel like they're gonna touch more on that because
Definitely.
that's super interesting.
Seems like a big bad villain.
Yeah.
A whole town of community of people.
Yeah.
You guys got to do this iconic Carrie at the prom kind of scene. How was that to film? Like, what was that experience like?
Cold.
Frigid.
Yes.
Frigid.
Very frigid, but very fun.
Bonding.
Bonding.
I know all of us
Chaotic as well.
behind the scenes, and there's like little
And
heat
the
blankets, like
yeah.
covered in sticky blood.
I was dressed like kind of like Colonel Sanders,
KFC guy.
according to Tim Burton, and in one of the scenes, like before we started shooting, he like had called somebody, I guess, and then he like brought out a bucket of chicken and like posed for a picture with me with this bucket of chicken, and then he was like, okay, action,
No.
and I was supposed to just be like, okay, and start acting after that.
How supernatural are the Addams Family? Because it's kind of been touched on before in the past, but now I feel like we've really delved deep into some of their abilities. Can you elaborate on that?
I don't think it's like super, in my opinion, it's they're not as supernatural as like being able to change anything on planet Earth. You know, it's not that level. I think it's a little more like on this like scary, spooky level that they could change their own lives a little bit. There's like electricity, there's like, it's almost like, I don't know, it's like someone who could like see something in a crystal ball.
Yeah.
So it's like that version of it. Not that, you know, we can change the weather. But,
Right. We're not doing anything with climate change, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I think they touch on a little bit saying that Wednesday might be a witch or there's some connection there. Where does Fester kind of get his own powers from?
I think it's like I see it as physical, like it's a physiological, you know, he's got enough electricity in him to sort of power things around him, but he can't like power a city. So it's a very sort of localized superpower, if you want to even call it that.
It's
and
a vibe.
It's a vibe more than anything else. And you know, it's not that different than real life, because I do feel like there are people who could do special things that other people can't, and it's impressive, but it doesn't like, you know, change the course of a river or something. But it's like someone who could eat 50 hot dogs or something. I don't know. You know, like that's sort of like, wait a minute, you know.
But that's not a bad idea, though, being able to change the course of a river.
That'd be
We
great.
should work on that.
Yeah, because what we would do is we put two sort of propellers on one side,
Yeah.
other direction, and then back again.
That's it.
How different do you think this Wednesday is from any other iteration of the Addams Family that we've had before?
Well, I mean, it's a whole up to date. It's a family that's growing, and you see the organic stuff that goes on. And again, my daughter, his niece, is now going to boarding school. You see, so it's a progression of family.